This is the second of 4 videos produced by Envisioning History to train students in the use of the Envisioning History Palantir platform. Each video has accompanying student exercises that are embedded in the database. Video 1 focused on the graph. This video explains the use of the map, and the third will discuss the Object Explorer. The fourth video will focus on analysis. In other words, integration of the 4 palettes to ask the right questions of the data. The basic questions are always who, what, when, where, and why. Those questions will appear in all the videos. This video covers the material quickly. The accompanying exercise steps you through each of the actions included in the video. The exercise text includes an index of the times in the video where each specific action occurs so you can return to the video as you need to. Each section of this training ends with the runtimes in red on the video where these steps are illustrated. Before you start with the map view, return to the scenario where you ended the first exercise. If you left your investigation with that scenario, you're ready to go, but hopefully you experimented with the graph after you finished the first training exercise. To reset to the scenario, we'll review the process. Go to the map view and clear it of any objects. Do this by holding the Control key and pressing the letter A, then pressing Delete on your keyboard. Go back to the graph view and clear it of any objects, just as you did on the map. Choose the Get Graph icon on the toolbar. Find the Battle of Midway case study, select it, and add it to your graph. Drag the event, the Battle of Midway, to the side. Do a search around on the Battle of Midway for linked events. Once the events appear, drag and drop them as a group from the graph onto the map icon on the Applications toolbar. You find yourself on the map view with overwhelming clusters of yellow dots and labels. First, let's clean those up. The map view has helpers just like the graph view. In the right-hand helper panel is a tab called Options. Click right or left until you find the tab, then click on the tab to open it. Toward the bottom of the pane is a section called Labels, where 2 of the 4 check boxes are selected. Deselect those boxes and the labels disappear from the map. That the dots are yellow indicates they are selected. If they are not selected, press Ctrl A on your keyboard to select them. Find the histogram tab in the right-hand helper pane and switch to it. Notice the data in the histogram about the events. Click anywhere on the map that doesn't have a dot and all the dots turn white, indicating they are not selected. Also notice the timeline at the bottom. You can select any scheme of colors and shapes that you want on the map display, depending on the analysis you wish to perform. For this step, we'll assign colors based on who initiated the events. Hold the Control key and press A to select all the events on the map. Under Event Properties in the histogram, you see a property called Event Initiator. Click on Japan. Now only the events initiated by the Japanese are yellow. Next, go back to the Options tab, and in the Point Style Options section in the lower area, you see a square marked Color. Left-click on the square and a palette of color appears. Pick a deep orange color and click to select it. Repeat this process. On the map, drag a box around all the events to select them. On the histogram, click on Event Initiator, United States. Go to the Options tab and select a deep blue color. Navigation on the map is the same as on the graph. To zoom in or out, use the slider bar on the right or the scroll wheel on your mouse. To move the map, hold down the right click and move the map around. You can also use a number of different maps as the background. The default view is satellite imagery. To look at other map options, go to the Options tab on the right-hand helper pane. At the very top is a drop-down box for the different options. Select Yahoo Roads and the background changes to a regular map. Go back to the satellite imagery MSVE aerial/labels before going farther. For the next step, you'll do some more advanced search work. On the map, we can perform direct searches for objects that are tied to specific locations. Find Hawaii on your imagery and zoom in on Pearl Harbor on the island of Oahu adjacent to Honolulu. Next, click on Radius Search on the toolbar. A dialog box appears showing several choices. Center your cursor over Ford Island, Left-click and drag a large circle out from the center point. Return to the dialog box, and next to the word Filters, click on Edit. Type in 12/1/41 as the begin date, and 12/10/41 as the end date. Then go to Object Type, click on the menu options on the right of the box, left-click, and follow the option boxes until you reach the Event option. Left-click on Event, and then click on Search. You've just added the events that occurred during the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. You can find the USS Arizona Memorial in the view and zoom in. Double-click on the event for the bombing of the Arizona to see the event in the browser. Scroll down and view the video of the bomb hitting the Arizona's magazine. Go back to the map view, zoom all the way out, and delete all the objects on your map. Next, you'll look at the events that led up to the Battle of Midway. This allows you to see what the participants in an event knew at the time. Go to the Helpers tool on the toolbar and check to add the Filter helper to your right-hand helper pane. Tap through the helpers to open the Filter tab. Select the new filter. The dialog boxes at the bottom give you the same choices you saw on the radius search. Select Event as the object type. For begin date, type in 12/1/41, and for end date, type in 5/31/42. Finally, check the first figure and ensure 10,000 objects are selected. Now click on Add to Map. Several thousand events appear on your map. We'll leave these events on your map for the rest of this video and exercise, so it's helpful to color the events based on the event initiator just as you did earlier. Select all events with the Ctrl-A keys and color all the events blue. Blue will represent the Western Allies and neutrals. Then on the histogram, click on Event Initiator Japan, go back to the Options tab, and color those events orange. Repeat this process to make Germany, Italy, and Vichy France green, and the Soviet Union red. You can make the objects any colors or shapes you like, but these colors give the best contrast on the various map options, so Envisioning History uses these for our standard color convention. Notice the timeline helper at the bottom of your screen. You see the time density of events for the 6-month period leading up to June 1st, 1942. Place your cursor on the left side of the timeline, left-click, and drag a small box. You've just created a time filter. Notice that events on the map that do not occur in this time span you've filtered are ghosted out. Move your cursor to the center of the time filter, left-click, and slowly drag it to the right across the event density scale. Notice how you see an animation of how the events occurred geospatially. There is another helper called the heat map that is very useful when you have a high density of events. On the Helpers tool, select Heat Map, and notice the helper pane appears on the left of your screen. Before showing the heat map, go to the Advanced Settings and ensure Density Mode and Hide Map Points and Labels are checked. We also recommend a radius setting of 200 kilometers and a real setting unit of 50 kilometers squared. Once these are set, click on Show Heat Map. You should see many different colored blobs covering different areas of the map. Create a new time filter on your timeline and make it cover the full month of December 1941. On the map, you can drag a box around any of the blobs to know what the event clusters were. For instance, in the Atlantic Ocean, you see the Battle of the Atlantic underway, In northern Russia, the siege of Leningrad and the Battle of Moscow. Move the time filter to January 1942 and drag a box around all the blobs to see what went on then. Repeat this month by month to see when and where all the major events occurred, leading you to the Battle of Midway. Turn off the heat map and we'll end this lesson with a detailed examination of the histogram. The histogram is one of the more important tools for your study of history. Select all the objects on the map and expand the histogram so you can read all the entries. The very top line in the event type section shows you count of all of the events on the map. Below all events is a breakdown of events by the types of events Envisioning History has established. This is called the ontology. Remember that new data is continuously being added to the database, so the number of events will likely be larger each time you look at it. Also notice that you can click on any of the categories on the histogram and those objects on the map and on the timeline turn yellow. Scrolling down on the histogram, you see the event properties. You can find the battles and campaigns that were underway. If you go further down to the keywords, you can find all the German U-boats that were sunk during the 6-month period. We've gone through many different tools very quickly. Now it's time for you to go through all of these steps yourself. When you are new to a complex piece of software like this, it's normal for you to be slow and tentative at first, but as you go through the training, you'll become more familiar and comfortable with it. Remember, the Palantir platform is very similar to most other types of software you use, so manipulating the software is easy. The more difficult aspect is knowing what all the different tools can do for you. Just keep exploring and you'll gain in confidence every day. Now search for Training Exercise 2 for the map. Drag and drop Exercise 2 on your graph. Open the PDF and begin.